Thank you. Welcome everybody to this afternoon's Strategic Planning Committee. Just remind you to put phones on silent or switch them off. Just to explain something, we haven't got as usual clock. After 70 years of service it's decided to pack in and we haven't renewed it as yet, but we've got a timer that comes up on screen now, so we can see it, I can see it, so we're alright there. The members of the public that are watching, they can't see it, but there's also a clock on here as well, so everything's alright there. Right, minutes of the previous meeting, membership of committee. I believe we're one member missing. Donna?
Yeah, apologies from Councillor Thompson.
Right, and everybody else is as printed. Item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. Can we pass those as a true record? Thank you. Any declarations of interest in lobbying? I'll start with Councillor Sokol.
None, Chair.
Councillor Pattison?
None, Chair.
Councillor Pinnett?
None, Chair.
Councillor Greaves?
None, Chair.
Councillor Bellamy?
None, Chair.
And myself? None. This is a public meeting. We are on Wi-Fi and being recorded. Item 5, any public questions? None. Item 6, any deputations or petitions?
None, Chair.
We did, item 7, take on one site visit this morning. This was to Illhouse Yard, Alder Street, Huddersfield, for the operational railway land works. Item 8, into planning applications, application 2018-92647. This is agenda item 9, and this is, we've been to it many times before, and this is the New North Road Huddersfield site, the site of the former Kirklees College.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. I'm David Wordsworth, Case Officer for this application, Team Leader for Major and Mineral Section of the Kirklees Council Planning Department. Agenda item 9 is a hybrid plan application for a mixed-use development of retail, office and residential accommodation, incorporating 229 apartments and the erection of a food retail store. The development involves the conversion and alteration of a Grade 2 star listed building and demolition of listed buildings within the conservation area, as well as creating new vehicular accesses and surface parking areas. The site extends to 2.4 hectares and is allocated for mixed-use development within the Kirklees local plan for housing, employment and retail. Here are a few site photographs. The front elevation of the Grade 2 star listed former infirmary building and views of the rear former hospital buildings from Portland Street. Clearly vandalism and degradation has affected the visual amenity of the site. The hybrid application consists of an outline application on the northern element of the site and includes access and scale. Appearance, layout and landscaping are reserved matters. On the remainder of the site, full planning permission is sought. In terms of heritage assets, on and close to the site, there's a Grade 2 star listed infirmary building, the Grade 2 statue King Edward VII, and 3 conservation areas. The northern half of the site is within the Greenhead Park conservation area. Huddersfield Town Centre conservation area is on the opposite side of Castlegate to the east, and Springwood conservation area is located to the south. Also, listed buildings and 2 listed walls are at close proximity to the site, all of which are Grade 2. In terms of the proposed demolition, this is shown within the demolition plan. The scheme proposes to demolish all existing buildings on site other than the former infirmary buildings and its wings and the Grade 2 statue. In line with the hybrid plan, Outline permission is sought for residential development on the northern part of the site, totalling a max of 197 apartments within 2 blocks. Full planning permission is sought for the food retail store on the southern part of the site and the conversion of the principal listed building to office accommodation and the wings to 32 residential apartments. In terms of key planning matters, committee members will recall that the application was presented to Strategic Committee on the 18th of November 2021, recommended for refusal. As the public benefits of the scheme were not considered to outweigh harm to the heritage assets principally through the scale of demolition, but also from impacts upon the conservation area, the committee resolved to defer the application to allow for a further period of negotiations, with the aim of securing works for the Grade 2 star listed buildings to make them weatherproof and watertight in order to ensure that they are preserved at an early stage of the development, and secondly, achieving certainty in respect of the restoration and conversion of the listed buildings in the future. The applicant's scheme has one significant change from that in November committee, and that is that the programme of urgent works will be completed within 9 months of written approval of both stages of the programme of urgent works, rather than the 18-month time frame previously proposed. Officers consider that this change does not improve the public benefits in any demonstrable way when considering that the applicant is required to look after their own listed buildings without the need for an incentive. The content of the programme of urgent works is very similar to the urgent works that could be secured by issuing the landowner an urgent works notice under the Planning, Listed Buildings and Conservation Areas Act 1990. The relevant paragraph in the committee report is 10.36 of the report rather than 10.34. Apologies, Chair. And that's in the recommendation. The applicant's scheme does not achieve any certainty in respect to the restoration and conversion of the listed buildings in the future, and committee members are requested to be mindful of the local planning authority's statutory duty to have special regard to the desirability of preserving listed buildings or their settings and preserving or enhancing the character or appearance of conservation areas as advised by Historic England. Members' attention is also drawn to paragraph 1.15 of the main agenda in respect of positive discussions that officers have had with Historic England regarding funding of the programme of urgent works as one option that the Council could take to achieve the repair and preservation of the infirmary buildings and its wings, should permission be refused. Therefore, Chair, the recommendation is one of refusal that comes in 2 parts. Firstly, to refuse planning permission in the absence of a completed Section 106 agreement. The development fails to secure the conversion of the listed buildings and therefore provide insufficient public benefits to outweigh the less than substantial harm caused by the scheme. The second part is to ask the committee for confirmation that officers can issue an urgent works notice as and when required to preserve the unoccupied listed buildings under Section 54 of the Planning and Listed Buildings and Conservation Areas Act 1990, to require works listed in A to E under paragraph 10.36 of the report to be completed and issued on the landowner. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, David. We've got 2 speakers on this item. First speaker is Jeremy Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, members, in November you asked us to continue our dialogue with your planning officers on how we could secure the listed buildings and achieve some certainty on their restoration. You all recognise through your thorough deliberation of the committee report that this scheme has severe viability issues, confirmed through an independent assessment of the applicant's viability report. You as councillors recognised there is simply no more money available than what is available now. It is therefore incredibly disappointing that officers appear to be suggesting in this updated report that our changes do not improve the public benefits. Paul Fox will detail the changes to the offer made in November, but in outline, we have significantly brought forward the timescales and all the enabling money, such that the urgent works will be brought forward from 18 months to within 9 months, and that the full £400,000 will be spent within this time frame. This has been through renegotiating the terms of the agreement with the contractor to get this work done far earlier than set out previously, which again shows the commitment on the part of the applicant's team. We want to make this work. All of this just seems to be lost on officers who, it would seem, simply can't get their heads around the viability and that there is simply no more money in the pot, a fact you as councillors fully recognise. We cannot understand the logic behind the continued suggestion that the public benefits do not outweigh the urban regeneration of a significant, sustainable brownfield site in a highly prominent location in the town that will secure jobs and employment and create investment in the area. Over the last 6 weeks, we have been notified by the council that antisocial behaviour is still taking place on the site. We have an opportunity, not only through the public benefits outlined above, to rid this problem once and for all. The temporary boarding up of the doors and windows has halted the antisocial activities, but this proposal will not only eradicate this problem, but will shore up the buildings, making them watertight so they don't fall foul of the elements and antisocial behaviour. In terms of the certainty of restoration in the future, this will be immeasurably advanced through the ability to show to the market a development site with planning and listed building consent, where significant investment is taking place through the delivery of a brand new retail store, which alongside the demolition works will open the site up with clear views of the principal listed building and its wings. The commencement of work on site will be the clearest and most forceful message that investment is underway and will give far more opportunities to ensure the listed buildings are brought back into a viable use, which we all want to see. But this cannot happen without the support of the council in granting the necessary consent. Many of you have sat on planning committee for a long time and understand that planning is a discipline about making a balanced decision. We have that opportunity now to make that decision, but we need your support and would ask you to grant planning permission and listed building consent. Thank you for your time.
Next is Paul Fox.
Thank you, Chair. I am Paul Fox. I am the development manager for the scheme. Having sat here in November, I left with a very clear message from you as members, and I hope to be sat here with having secured officer support for our proposals. Sadly, the entrenched position remains, despite 2 conclusive lack of viability reports that have been presented. Despite the officer's lack of willingness to move to any kind of middle ground, we as landowners have improved the proposal on the table significantly in a desire to make it work and, most importantly, to make the scheme happen. I'm keen to summarise our proposal, as I don't personally feel the officer's report does that. Firstly, we have a Section 106 agreement in a very advanced format ready for execution. It binds in an overage provision despite a suggestion we tried to remove this, which we didn't. Secondly, we're proposing to bring forward the £400,000 of obliged Section 106 monies previously allocated for 18 months to do all the listed building works and all of the works involved in demolition and site preparation inside 9 months. The building contract has been renegotiated to reflect this. It should be noted that aside from the inclusion of the £400,000, the contract price has gone up by over £100,000 compared to where we were 12 months ago, when at this very same February committee, in fact the very same date, you agreed a resolution to grant planning. You'll be aware of the massive issue the construction and development world is facing around build cost inflation. It continues to snowball, and we only have a very small window to secure the contract at this revised price. We simply cannot afford further delay. In effect, what we are saying is if you were to approve the application today, we are ready to sign the 106 agreement and immediately enter into what is a £2 million commitment. This will secure the site and stop antisocial behaviour overnight, commence the asbestos removal and demolition of all the eyesore buildings, as well as fund the plateauing and levelling. This work alone costs £1.6 million. And obviously spend the additional £400,000. By the end of 22, we expect to have a cleared and secured site, a supermarket construction underway, a cleared phase 2 plot for residential development, and a secured and improved listed buildings phase where we can explore market options. It is worth noting we already have live dialogue with the NHS for a GP drop-in facility in one of the wings to this phase as an alternative to the BHF application. We feel this is a very compelling here and now proposal. We simply can go no further and there is nothing left in the tank. Officers out of choice are choosing to totally ignore the viability point. Their position on the point is simply undeliverable and nonsensical. How long can officers defend a completely unrealistic position and stop regeneration of this site? We are ready to deliver here and now with £2 million to invest in the town and the site. Please, we need your support as members. Thank you.
Right. Members, it's over to you. Councillor Pattison.
Oh, sorry.
No, I want to follow you.
He's letting me go first. This is extremely difficult and extremely disappointing that we are here with, again, a recommendation for refusal. I can't remember if I actually moved deferral last time, but whether I did or I didn't, I was desperately hoping that that deferral would result in this scheme going ahead. Now, I do recognise that we are in a better position in terms of what we asked for now than back in November. And I can understand the officers' position, and they are throwing it to us, I would say, to determine what is the public benefit. I certainly welcome the promise, or I'm not sure the promise is the right word, that all this the urgent works, etc., could all happen within 9 months, and that by the end of this year we could see significant development. We so need that on this site, I have to say. I don't think we could actually get to a better position any quicker in terms of the demolition of the building, in terms of the clearance, and just work starting on site. I don't think we can offer or expect anything more from the developers than 9 months. I think that is a reasonable timescale. I think the one issue which is at sticking point, perhaps, is as officers have put it, the certainty, the restoration of the listed building. Now, sort of the urgent works will stop degradation and make it, will mean that it's not going to get any worse. Sorry, I'm telling people that. How much can we expect in terms of certainty of the restoration? I mean, I think we certainly can expect certainty on restoration, because there's no way that building will ever be delisted, even if it falls into total disrepair, which certainly the developers don't want to do and we don't want to do. So there is some certainty of restoration. I think actually the issue is how long will we be waiting for that restoration. I think what the developers are saying is that if we give permission today to get this show on the road, they will have some more certainty in terms of that, those buildings actually being able to generate income or to be used to restore the building. They're not giving us that certainty, and I don't think, in terms of phasing, because there's an awful lot of uncertainty just at the moment, not just within the supply chain for building materials, etc., but just in the world in general today, is there not? What I'm coming to is the point of public benefit. Now, I'm in the officer's position, and I do understand this, and I think it's a technical position, not to be rude about it, in terms of, does what we have on the table outweigh the public benefit, but in terms of the listed building. But there's another public benefit that we have got to consider, I think, and that is the state of that corner, the health and safety of that building. I mean, I know some of the boards have been shorn up around it after the winds, but just around the corner there's another load of boards down with barbed wire all over the pavement. just today, this morning, just now, as I drove past coming here, it's still open to any vandal to get in, and all the antisocial behaviour, all the health and safety risks that barbed wire over the pavement even brings. So we really do have to think, I think, about the public benefit of that site remaining an eyesore, and of course the listed buildings remaining an eyesore, albeit that we as an authority could, and I take the point, we could actually get urgent works done to those buildings if we refuse this application today within 9 months as well. So whether the developer does it or the council does it, those urgent works wouldn't be, there's no difference in time scale, but the difference is that the actual corner with the old modern university college buildings on it. And I do think we have to take that into consideration when we're considering the public benefit and just the statement that we want to make as a council to visitors. I mean, how many main entrances have we got to this town? And that is one of them. Well, it's the end of 2 of them actually, and it's absolutely a crying shame that it's been there for this long. And I really fear seeing it there like that for another 5, 9, 10 years, whatever it is, from when the college first moved out. I will reserve any conclusions at this point because I'm going to let Councillor Finnock have his say, and then I may come back if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm going to take the bull by the horns on this one, to be honest. I'm not normally like that, but I think it was important that Councillor Patterson had the first word because it's in her ward. She knows the site well. I mean, I can't say that I know the actual site well, although I do know from driving past it on numerous occasions what the effect of derelict buildings on that site actually is. And I know perfectly well that the effect is pretty horrible. It doesn't do Huddersfield any favours at all. And clearly, I think we actually need to do something about it. Like Councillor Patterson, I agree the officers have made the recommendation they have because of perfectly understandable reasons. I can see exactly where they're coming from, and if you like, we are being asked to adjudicate on this. Well, that's why we're on the Strategic Planning Committee, and I am prepared to move approval on this site because I think, particularly after what the applicants have said just now, this is a bit of a last chance saloon because, as Councillor Patterson has alluded to, we are in quite a difficult environment at the moment, not just locally but nationally and internationally, and it does seem to me that we have got some assurance within what we've been told here that things will happen. I see no reason at all why the applicants, sort of being in charge of a grade 2-star listed building, they wouldn't want to do something about it. It's not in their interest to do nothing about it, because the longer you leave doing anything to it, the worse it's going to get. That's it's a kind of inevitability. We've got another application on the agenda where there is, to a degree, that same issue. But I think I would be quite prepared to move approval and turn the reason on its head, because I think that we have been given assurances that things will happen within 9 months. Although I suspect we might need a small get-out clause in case. No. I think I ought to mention this in case there are very unforeseen circumstances that prevent that happening within 9 months. It's got to be a very good reason for extending it, and I'm sure it would be quite possible to work out wording to deal with that. I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, but you can't tell under the present circumstances what for example prices are going to do, and prices have been going through the roof for all sorts of things, quite apart from supply difficulties. So I understand all of that, and I'm aware that there could be circumstances in which the 9 months might not be met, but there've got to be good reasons for that if that does happen. Otherwise, I think we might well be missing a really good opportunity here to do something about a derelict site and to enhance it, or get well on the way to enhancing it, so that it doesn't put Huddersfield to shame as it's been doing for too long. So I will move approval. We need to work out conditions and all that sort of thing, but I'm sure officers have already thought of that. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Chair.
David.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to clarify a point in terms of the timing of the urgent works. The committee report that came to you members in November required the urgent works to be undertaken and implemented in 2 phases. It also required written approval to be sought from the council, and that was to be sought within 8 weeks of the granting of planning permission. So if that was the case, it wouldn't strictly be 9 months, it would potentially be 11 months. The council, as officers, we consider that written approval is a very important part because it clarifies matters that might not be here in the committee report. It would be based on points A to E that we have listed in the committee report, but the written approval part is considered to be important for officers, just to ensure clarity with what those urgent works are. So I just wanted to make members aware. Thank you. And Chair, if I may, on the second point that Councillor Pinnock made about conditions, I think members need to know that the precise wording of the conditions has not yet been finalised, although you'll see that the link in the agenda does and has given members a good impression of what those conditions will be. And as the applicants have said, the Section 106 agreement has not been finalised, but again, there is a draft there where the precise wording would have to be finalised. So if members do approve this application, I would ask that you delegate authority to officers in order to finalise both the conditions and the Section 106 agreement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to come back on and just pick up on the point that Councillor Patterson's raised, really, about the public benefits. She's right that identifying and assessing the benefits to weigh against harm to a heritage asset is a matter for the decision maker, which is members in this case, and so is the weight to be attached to those benefits. So I think the key point in this application is probably that the conversion and restoration of the Grade 2 listed building, Grade 2 star, is not secured through the phasing plan. So there's no certainty as part of this application when it might be delivered. I hear what the applicant says. We don't have certainty through that planning decision. So for those reasons, and I think we've set out in the report what we consider the public benefits and why that doesn't weigh in the scheme's favour. We do recognise there are some benefits from this scheme, but for those reasons it doesn't. Obviously the applicant has committed to making the heritage buildings watertight and waterproof within 9 months. But these works are similar to those that would be secured under an urgent works notice. And it may be we require those to be done more quickly given their urgency. So I just wanted to set out those points in terms of how you come to your decision. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Greaves.
Thank you, Chair.
Well, I'd like to thank both officers and the applicant for the time and effort they've put into this. It is a pity that they've not been able to find common ground, but I understand where officers are coming from. I understand where the applicants are coming from, and I suppose the reality of most applications is there's a degree of compromise. I'm keen to see something happen on this site. It's been left idle for too long. Without doubt, a supermarket is not the most attractive option, but it is a viable option. And in the many years that this site has been vacant, there hasn't been a whole load of alternatives coming forward. So, for me, it's finely balanced, and I hope I don't live to regret it. But I feel like I'm going to have to put my trust and faith in the developers in terms of what happens to the hospital buildings in the future, the if, what and when. And I will be seconding Councillor Pinnock's proposal with the delegated approval of conditions that have been passed on to officers. I think it really is important that close control is kept over the detail of this, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have to agree with what everybody else has just about said. I mean, however we look at this, it's a complete eyesore as you come into this field, and as we've said, it's one of the main entrances. I think something does need to be done. It needs to be done quick. I don't want to see this looking like that in another 10 years, to be honest. And I think the more we delay, the more we defer, the more we, negotiate. I think it is just dragging it out now. Obviously, there's been some negotiations made. I mean, we've gone from 18 months to 9 months. That's half. So, providing that officers can look at the 106 and the conditions, I'd be tempted to support this for approval as well now, and I think it's time we got moving and got something done. Thank you.
Mohan.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, when we deferred this application on last time in February, I think, that time I was hoping that something well sorted out or compromise between officer and the developers. I was very hopeful. Still some happened. Developer have come down from 18 months to 9 months timetable. But officers are still not comfortable to approve this application. I'm not a professional, officer professional, and developer has got some professional people as well, But this site has been empty since 2013. It's in 8 or 9 years now. The situation, the building is right on the ring road, very prominent place. It looks horrible with visitor passing on the ring road. The listed building over there, If we listen to officer today, officer might be right. They're working according to their guidelines set up by the planning rules, But again, my worry is if we refuse this application today and we look for another developer will come in. I don't know how long it will take to get something on this site. So my worry is the Leicester building will deteriorate in the coming. So officer has spent so much time and resources, the developer has spent so much time. I think the officer right. If we approve this application, there must be some very strict condition laid down on that one, so the officer can work with the developer, yeah, and to find some final solution. I very much hope if we agree today, it should be done, work over within 9 months timetable they're given. Thank you, Chair.
Carol?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I wanted to let Councillor Pinner-Cavan say without hearing what I would have moved it if he hadn't. But I will wag my finger. I don't agree with allowing any get-out clause. If it comes to it, it comes to it. But let's not sort of give any suggestion that we do. This is not an absolute priority in terms of to both the officers and to the developers, that this is an absolute priority to get done. I don't want to sound like Boris Johnson here, but as Councillor Pinnock has said and as Kate has suggested, it is down to us here to determine what is the public benefit. And yes, the public benefit is seeing something happen on this site and that monstrosity removed as quickly as possible. And that is more important. No, I'll rephrase that. That is the first priority. The second priority is then getting that listed building secured and watertight, etc. I'm sure it will, the developers will, I mean, it's part of their business plan or whatever. They have to do something with that building. So it's not that it won't get secured in the long run. So it's not like the other listed building on the other side of the Ring Road, which has had its urgent works, but it still stood there empty. This building will be used. It won't, the scheme will not stack up unless it is used, I trust. There's a nod. So it will happen. I want to see it happen as quickly as possible, and I'd like to see within 24 hours that fence fully secured yet again. It's just around the corner, you'll see it. It's completely blown down. Actually, I don't think it's ripped down. It's not the wind. I think it's actually people getting in again. But we do have to see very quickly something happening on that site. I mean, that's my... I know we can't put that in a condition, but you hear my words. It has to happen. And that's all I'd like to say. So I will support this. I will look forward to seeing the final scheme done. But I just really want to reiterate how important it is for us to see this happen. Thank you.
One thing that Boris does say is oven ready, and I don't see this site as being oven ready just yet. And if I do vote for it, I hope to God I'm right. I'm always wrong because my wife always tells me I'm wrong. So, but yeah, I agree with Charles. So that surprised me. It has been moved and it has been seconded. So we need some reasons as to go against.
I think, David, are you going to summarise?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. So, listen to the committee and the points raised there. The committee consider that public safety and public health are very important and they represent a significant public benefit. So much so that the decision makers consider the public benefits that would be brought about through demolition and environmental enhancement of the town centre would outweigh the harm caused by the scheme to heritage assets. The timing is very important, and for that, as previously mentioned, the vote, when councillors vote for this motion, written approval of the programme of urgent works is required within 8 weeks of the grant of planning permission, and those urgent works that are listed must be completed within 9 months of written approval. The detailing and the finalisation of the conditions and the Section 106 agreement will be delegated to officers. Thank you, Chair.
So that's okay in terms of members, in terms of what's summarised? Okay, so on that basis then we'll go for the vote. So I'll start with Councillor Bellamy.
For.
Councillor Greaves.
For.
Councillor Sokol.
For.
Councillor Patterson.
For.
Councillor Pinnock.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
So that's unanimous, so the application is approved.
Right, next item. When I find it. Now this is the site visit we went to this morning. Optional railway land, Hillhouses Yard, Alder Street, Huddersfield. And it's Richard.
Thank you, Chair. This is an application for planning permission for a temporary strategic construction facility with a retaining wall, noise barrier and a temporary railway platform to facilitate the construction works for the Trans-Pennine Route upgrade conducted by Network Rail. The development of the former railway sidings at Hillhouse Yard into a construction facility for the TRU is included within the Transport Works Act order application that was submitted in December last year to the Secretary of State for a decision. However, in advance of the order being determined, Network Rail is submitting this standalone planning application at risk to facilitate the use of the construction compound site in advance of the order being agreed by the Secretary of State. A timely decision on this application is therefore necessary to prevent delay to certain aspects of the Trans-Pennine Route upgrade scheme. The site itself is located to the north of Huddersfield Town Centre and to the northwest of the Energy from Waste Centre at Emerald Street. The site is approximately 5 hectares in area and is entirely within the ownership of Network Rail. Despite its use as an industrial estate, the site is classified as operational railway land and is also designated as a strategic freight site. The site was occupied by a number of commercial and industrial operators who had short-term leases. Notice to terminate the lease agreements has been served on the businesses, allowing them sufficient time to find alternative premises for relocation. Network Rail have stated that the site will have been vacated by tenants in advance of the proposed development being brought forward. The site shares a boundary with residential properties in the north on Abbey Road, Hammond Street and Abbey Place, and is split from the Energy from Waste Centre by the operational railway line to the south and east, which you can see cuts through the middle of the map on the left-hand side of the slide. The top picture on this slide shows the access into the site from Alder Street. The access is to be widened and controlled by gates set in from the highway to prevent blockage of the carriageway by long vehicles. A gatehouse would also be at the entrance to further prevent unauthorised access from both vehicles and pedestrians. Temporary traffic regulation orders are also anticipated to prevent a conflict between HGVs and parked vehicles across the highways near to the pictured junction. The bottom picture presents the listed coal chutes further south of the access on Alder Street. Though the use of Hillhouse Railway Yard as a construction compound to serve the TRU works is classed as temporary, the works are scheduled to run from between 2022 and 2027. That being said, the main focus of this application is for the works undertaken this year and possibly early next year at the site until such time as a decision on the TWAO is provided by the Secretary of State. The site layout, as presented above, is moulded by the construction of the railway sidings that run into the centre of the site. These sidings are to be constructed under Network Rail's permitted development rights and are not subject of this application. You can see that the application's red line boundary runs around this area on the plan. The area to the west of the sidings would be used for assembly of the overhead line equipment, whereas a plant and materials operation area is proposed on the opposite eastern side of the railway sidings, further north of which there would be some on-site parking and welfare cabins to be used by the 30 office staff on the site. The 180 operatives that are to work from the site across the upgrade of the line are to be bussed from Network Rail's Fitzwilliam Street depot adjacent to Huddersfield train station. The practicalities of the operatives' route to and from the site is covered under the Construction Traffic Management Plan condition. The internal access road will be constructed to the north of the site, where it will provide access to the temporary platform on the eastern side of the site that is to be used during the works that require closure of Huddersfield Station. The access road requires the construction of a retaining wall due to the topography of the site, above which a 165-metre long, 2-metre high noise barrier is to be installed to prevent noise nuisance from operations on the site. This section plan is taken across a north to south axis. The plan presents the topography of the railway sidings on the left, the spine road and its retaining wall in the centre, with the noise barrier on the right-hand side adjacent to the rear boundaries of the residential dwellings on Abbey Road and Hammond Street, across the site's northern boundary. The thin dotted line presents the existing topography of the site. The route of the rail replacement service that passengers will experience was taken by committee members this morning on the site visit. Members should note that the rail replacement service is indicated to be for two 32-day periods. One is provisionally planned for March to April 2024, and the other is planned for April to May 2025. Contextually, these time periods are considered small given the site's wider use from 2022 to 2027. It is estimated that 2 trains will operate from the temporary platform during peak hours, served by 5 bus movements from Huddersfield Station. This slide presents the construction traffic routes to the development site from the M62. These routes form part of the strategic highway network. 60 heavy goods vehicle movements are anticipated to occur over a typical day, and HGV movements are to be limited to off-peak hours of highway operation to reduce congestion on the network. This limitation is covered both within Network Rail's transport statement and within the proposed construction traffic management plan condition. 60 HGV movements over a day outside of peak hours is not considered significant by Kirklees Highways officers, given that the site previously operated as an industrial estate. As regards the new recommendation to committee, detailed in the update, a positive decision by members would be subject to agreement of the wording of a Grampian pre-commencement condition. This condition is to secure off-site noise mitigation measures to dwellings that may be affected by adverse noise levels that occur from operations taking place on the development site. This condition is not related to the operation of the sidings, but purely to the operations being undertaken for the storage of plant and materials and the assembly of the overhead line equipment. As the condition is pre-commencement, its wording needs to be agreed with Network Rail as the applicant. The Office of Recommendation to Committee reflects the delay incurred in seeking legal advice, and it is not anticipated that there will be any issues in Kirklees environmental health officers reaching agreement with Network Rail on this specific matter. The condition is necessary to ensure that the amenity of nearby residents is maintained at acceptable levels should the development be granted planning permission by members. This is not to say that no disruption will be encountered by nearby residents, but that sufficient measures are to be implemented as a result of the recommended decision that would protect and maintain their amenity throughout the site's use. As such, members are recommended to approve the application as it enables the timely delivery of advanced works for a strategic infrastructure project that is indicated to be transformational for the residents and the economy of Kirklees, which align with the strategic objectives of the local plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. One speaker, and that's Tony Rivero.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Tony Rivero. I'm the Town Planning Manager for Network Rail. These are exciting times for the Transpennine Railway through Kirklees. As you'll know from the recent inquiry, the Transpennine upgrade seeks to invest more than £1.5 billion on the route between Huddersfield and Ravensthorpe. It will reinstate the 4 tracks, electrify the route, put in a grade-separated junction at Ravensthorpe, provide new platforms and a second footbridge at Huddersfield, a new station at Ravensthorpe, which will also have the ability to be served by trains from Wakefield, and rebuilt stations at Deaton and Murfield with step-free access to platforms for the first time. These improvements will in turn boost capacity, allowing more seats, more trains and faster journeys. The economic benefit of the upgrade is estimated to provide up to 3,500 people directly employed across the whole Transpennine route, with a commitment to using local labour and providing apprenticeship opportunities across all boroughs. And for every £1 spent, it will put back £1.44 into the economy. The application before you is one of the first tangible proofs of our commitment to deliver the much needed improvement to the route through Kirklees. The proposal seeks to create a temporary central construction and storage hub, allowing for a concentration of activities on a site convenient for the whole route. It will include storage, overhead line catenary assembly, track panel construction, ballast storage, road and rail vehicle parking and associated welfare facilities. It also makes provision to build a temporary platform in readiness for the proposed blockades of the railway. It also proposes noise mitigation measures in the principal form of an acoustic screen to protect the properties on Hammond Street, along with other protective measures as required. The reason for the application being brought forward in advance of the grant of the order is principally to remove as much risk from the programme as possible. For example, to enable essential track slewing in the Hillhouse Deaton area to take place, which will enable the 4-track formation to be established in a timely manner. In addition, the Hillhouse facility will act as a central construction compound, crucial to the timely delivery of all the TWA scheme, given such a time frame as to deliver the challenging target set by the Department of Transport for commissioning of the new lines by December 2027. Being the first element of the whole scheme to be established, it is important Network Rail are able to achieve this as quickly as possible. Although we have a high degree of confidence that the TWA will be granted, it is accepted that all works proposed in this application would be implemented at risk should the order not be confirmed. May we remind you of the important policy considerations of Local Plan Policy LP19 and the Strategic Allocation TS7, which form the basis for encouraging the implementation of the upgrade to the benefit of both rail passengers and the Kirklees district. We have welcomed the support shown by the authority at the TWA inquiry. Network Rail worked collaboratively with the officers of the Council to reach a statement of common ground and agreed set of conditions to cover the order proposals. We have similarly worked with the Council officers to deliver a suite of conditions which will give the necessary detail on the operation of the facility and protection for local residents and businesses, but will allow this important step in the delivery of the upgrade to begin, and we support the recommendation of your officers to approve the scheme. Thank you.
Members, it's over to you. Councillor Pinnock.
Thank you, Chair. I am very keen that we grant approval on this application. But one of the alarming things, if you look at any stuff to do with huge infrastructure work like this, is the length of time it takes. And you know, I'm sure other members will agree with me, but we want these works done tomorrow. I know that's not going to happen. That's unrealistic. But to be perfectly frank, this country has lagged behind developing its infrastructure properly. So we've got a huge backlog of things that will improve people's ability to move around this country, which just hasn't happened for donkey's years. That includes electrifying this railway line, which we have been promised for quite some time. But anyway, I won't go on a rant, because it's very easy to go on a rant about investment in railways, which successive governments have always treated as subsidies rather than an investment. Investment is what they do to road operations. Railways are subsidised. That's the wrong way of looking at it. And as I say, we would like this, or I would like this to happen tomorrow. But can I just mention, although it's not, well, it is partly part of this application, these coal drops. Other members will know I have great interest in heritage issues, and it seems to me that we've got something on this site which I know there are conditions in there to ensure that they're protected, but actually I would hope that in some way they can be enhanced to make them an attraction, because there won't be very many other examples anywhere else in the country. I mean, Network Rail people might know where else they might be, but certainly here, that the extent of these coal drops is really very impressive. and people who are interested in railways and how they operated and still operate would I won't say flock to look at them, but there would be a reasonably large number of people who would be interested to know they're there. And I know it's not part of this application other than protecting them. Perhaps I could encourage Network Rail to put in an application to enhance them. That's a separate issue. Sorry, I get a bee in my bonnet about these things. I would like to move approval of this application because I think even though they are doing it at their own risk, I think it's an important thing to get out of the way so that when the whatever it's called, Transport Works Act order is made, that Network Rail can be up and running on this very quickly. So I think we need to approve it. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Andrew. So I looked at dinner time for these coal chutes, just like the ones there, and it was Colorado, exactly the same, about 20 of them. So you can't say that it's the same neighbourhood, really, can you? Councillor Bellamy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I actually think, we need to get the Transpennine upgrade done, and it would be nice if it could start tomorrow. I quite agree. I think a lot needs to happen. It's just a shame they're not seem to be moving as quick up the line, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll quite happily second Councillor Pinnock's proposal that we accept this. The only thing I did find a bit strange was the bus route from the station down to Hill House. I think that was a bit of a strange way to go round. I think I could have found a better way, but I believe that's not actually set in stone anyway, and it may change because it seemed to go a long way round. But yeah, and as we've said, Network Rail are doing this at their own risk, waiting for the legislation and everything else to come through. So yeah, I'll second Councillor Pinnock's proposal. Thank you.
Mohan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, as a committee member, I don't think so we have got any option to say no to this scheme. The scheme has so many benefits. They're spending 1.5 billion on their creating jobs, and it's a fastest traveling journey between Huddersfield and the station. And well, I like to make some comments. Like Donna said, why from Huddersfield railway station they don't use the road Northumberland Street straight down there rather than turning right to go on the ring road. Yeah, I don't know, it's a wide road, no busy road, that one straight onto the ring road. Second thing, on Bradford Road is my Carol and my wards. Yeah, we know the situation. It's a very busy traffic. Almost all day, on peak hour is very, very busy traffic. I want to say, when the scheme start and heavy vehicle start going on to Bradford Road, turning right into Flint Street, yeah, if they're causing some traffic problem on the Bradford Road to other cars, other traffic, and because it's a quite frequently bus route and cars going there, then I think we need to consider the officer or Network Rail need to consider that time. I don't know how it will work. Yeah. Third point is Andrew is right. Coal drop. We need to maintain those ones. It's historic. Yeah, I've seen firsthand today when we were on coaches. So I hope the Network Rail will consider to maintain those that for the history of the coming generation, future generations. So generally I'm in favour of the scheme. I can't say no. Thank you.
Councillor Mann. Councillor Greaves.
Thank you. Well, I think improving the Trans-Pennine route is likely to have far greater beneficial impact upon our region than shaving a few minutes off getting into London. This is a necessary part of that work. I think I'm supportive of it. I guess it'd been nicer if it had been sooner, and whenever they start, there's going to be a quite significant impact on that local area, and it will be for a good number of years. So it's nice to see there's plenty of mitigation in place, but again, it's going to be down to Network Rail to kind of make sure they manage the site and keep the neighbours happy. I'm supportive of it.
Thanks, Charles. Carol.
Thank you. Yeah, as Councillor Sokol says, this is yet another scheme which is right on the edge of our ward, but it's still in our ward, and it is going to be a terrific amount of disruption. Absolutely necessary. We can't do without it because, as Councillor Pinnock says, we should have. I mean, our railways should have been more heavily invested in for donkey's years, and we're catching up for lost time. And we really need to do this. And then, of course, when you do that, then you find yourselves you're hemmed in by all sorts of. If we'd done it 100 years ago, then a lot of the houses and things around there wouldn't be there. Anyway, talking of the houses, I mean, I do hope the sound barrier between them and the works will be in place quite quickly, obviously, but will be sufficient because it will be particularly noisy. I mean, we have people at the moment in our ward being woken up in the middle of the night by works on the railway line, and that's a couple of miles away. So at night, it certainly, if there's night works to be done, then it certainly the noise travels. I also agree the bus route is a bit odd, but I'm sure that will be worked out in the end. But other than that, yes, you can't make an omelette without cracking eggs, and unfortunately our ward is going to see everything's going to happen at once, I hope. And it's a lot of omelettes or a lot of eggs are going to be broken, hopefully, but it'll be for the good in the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Richard.
Just to address, through you, Chair, sorry, just to address the points made by various members in respect of the rail replacement service route, this is covered under Condition 6, which will be subject to the temporary platform not being brought into use until a commuter travel plan is submitted by Network Rail. This will also be included in the route of the rail replacement service, which the agent has confirmed is open to alteration.
Right, I think that covers it. I'm going to say I'm glad it's going through because I won't want Tracy Brabin chasing me around Edmund Wyke and Batley saying, what the hell are you playing at getting? We've got this investment and you don't want it. Because it is strange when you go to London how smooth things run, whether it's bus or train. Try and give them some money down there to pay your fare and look at you as though you're mad. Oyster cards. Right, it has been moved by Councillor Pinnock. It's been seconded by Councillor Bellamy. So we'll go to a straightforward vote.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the recommendation as detailed in the update report, which is the delegate approval of the application, subject to agreement with the Grampian pre-commencement condition. Right, so we'll start with Councillor Bellamy.
For.
Councillor Greaves.
For.
Councillor Sokol.
For.
Councillor Patterson.
For.
Councillor Pinnock.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
That's unanimous, so application is approved.
And that's it. You can all pack your bags up and go home now. Thank you.